Okay, so today we are going to be reading the book Spider-Man 2: Hands Off Doc Ock. This book was adapted by Kate Egan. It was a perfectly normal morning in New York City. Sunlight glinted off the tall buildings. The sidewalks were crowded and the streets were busy. It was a perfectly normal morning for Peter Parker too, but normal for him was a little different. Peter lived a double life. Sometimes he was a regular guy, and sometimes he was Spider-Man. Peter never knew when he'd have to swoop in to stop a crime. One day, Peter was in line at the bank, waiting to take out some money. Suddenly, his spider sense kicked in. He knew danger was near, and warned the other customers. Most of them huddled together on the floor. But one of them was standing up. Peter wanted to warn him that he was in danger too. Before he could say anything, 4 metal tentacles ripped out of the man's coat. He wasn't a customer at all. He was the new villain in town, Doc Ock. He was robbing the bank. Peter knew it was time for Spider-Man to help out. Okay, so if we can kind of compare this to the movie, Peter was there at the bank with Aunt May to get the loan, and it doesn't look like Peter is here with Aunt May at the bank. Doc Ock was once a famous scientist, but one of his experiments had gone terribly wrong. Now, he had 4 deadly tentacles fused to his body. Doc Ock used his extra limbs to slash and crush his victims. So here in this book, they're also skipping over the fact that Doc Ock had his experiment gone wrong, and they're just saying that Doc Ock had his experiment gone wrong. I get it, they're shortening down the plot and everything. But it is kind of funny because when we went over that other book, Spider-Man vs. Doc Ock, it seemed like they said that Peter wasn't even there when Doc Ock's experiment went wrong. And it raised a lot of questions. And here, I'm not really sure if they're doing the same thing or not. This isn't by the same author, so I'm not really sure what decision they made as far as that, or what, they're going with. Spider-Man to the rescue. Peter put on a suit and leaped into action. "How dare you interfere with me, Spider-Man?" Doc Ock growled. He hurled heavy bags of coins at Spider-Man. Spider-Man dodged one and then the other, but Doc Ock was too fast for him. Soon, Spider-Man crumpled to the floor. Doc Ock wrapped his tentacles around Spider-Man and squeezed, but he couldn't stop Spider-Man from firing webbing at a massive desk. Spider-Man flung the desk at Doc Ock and sent him flying through a window. So that is actually almost perfectly describing what happened in the movie. It's just the illustration is a little bit off. It kind of looks like Doc Ock is almost running away from Spider-Man, or he's jumping out the window. Doc Ock crash-landed onto the street. He roared in fury. He tossed a car in the air. Then he grabbed a girl and scrambled up the side of the building. Okay, so in the movie, he would have grabbed Aunt May instead. I don't know why they're choosing to just have him grab some girl. This is just some random girl, Great, it's just some random girl, Spider-Man No Way Home reference. That's like a partial Spider-Man No Way Home reference. Like when Toby walked in through the portal and they were like, great, it's just some random guy. That's why I did it's okay. Spider-Man had stopped the robbery. Now he had to save the girl. Spider-Man fired a web and followed Doc Ock up. "Set her down," he shouted. Doc Ock bellowed, "Make me." So Spider-Man did. Spider-Man punched him, and Doc Ock lost his grip on the building. To get it back, he tossed the girl to a ledge. She barely managed to grab it. The girl was quivering with fear. She couldn't stay on for long. Spider-Man had to help her. But he still hadn't shaken Doc Ock. The bad guy slammed Spider-Man with 2 of his lethal tentacles. His blow blasted Spider-Man through the side of a building. So it seems like they're recreating the movie pretty accurately here, except I don't know why they're replacing Aunt May with this girl, but it seems pretty accurate so far. Most of the stuff with Aunt May, getting thrown up on the roof and then, grabbing onto a ledge and like barely managing to grab it. That all happened with Aunt May pretty much in the movie, and I don't know why they're not choosing to do it with Aunt May in this book. Spider-Man landed in an office. The people who worked there were surprised to see him. They were even more surprised to see Doc Ock. One by one, his tentacles smashed through the floor. The workers were terrified. Spider-Man had Doc Ock by one tentacle when he heard a scream outside. He looked toward the ledge. Doc Ock had grabbed the girl with one of his other tentacles. He waved her in the air. "Lose something?" he jeered. Spider-Man leaped toward the girl. He was prepared for a fight, and Doc Ock was ready for him. Suddenly, the girl poked Doc Ock in the eye. Doc Ock screamed in pain and dropped her. Spider-Man caught her, and they soared away to safety. "We showed him," said the girl when they landed. Spider-Man stared at her. "We?" he thought. But he didn't say a word. Spider-Man didn't mind sharing the credit. Saving people was just part of his job. It was perfectly normal. So this is interesting. We kind of have like a reverse dialogue that they're doing in the book here. In the movie, Spider-Man said, "We sure showed him," to Aunt May. And then Aunt May says back, "What do you mean, we?" But in the book, it's the girl saying, "We showed him." And then Spider-Man is like, "We?" So yeah, it's interesting they did that. Okay, so that was Spider-Man 2, Hands Off Doc Ock. Let me know what you thought about this book. I do have to say, it was pretty accurate to the battle with Doc Ock. I would have to say the main thing that I don't really understand is why they replaced Aunt May with some random girl. But either way, they still managed to keep the book relatively accurate to the movie, so I can credit the author for that. So, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. And, with that being said, I'll see you next upload.